In this video, we're going to talk about the ideal gas law and a variation of that called the combined gas law. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up. In this video, we're going to talk about the theory, and then I've got two other videos where we'll do some examples. So all of the simple gas relationships that we've explored till now can be combined into a single law, and that's called the ideal gas law. And the equation for it is given here. The pressure times the volume is equal to the moles times R, which I'll get into. It's a constant, and the temperature. And so the ideal gas law shows how all four of the fundamental gas properties are related to one another. And R, as I said, is a constant. It's called the ideal gas constant. And the units on R actually determine what units we have to use on each of the other four properties. And so we can use different units, but if we do, then the numerical value of R will change. The most common one, and the one that I'll always use in this course, is given here, where if I use the volume in liters, the pressure in atmospheres, the moles in moles, and the temperature in Kelvin, then R has this numerical value. And if you notice, for example, if I just change from atmospheres to kilopascals, but leave everything else the same, right, the numerical value of R changes. It's the same constant. The number just changes to account for the different units that we use. One caveat, though, the temperature always has to be in Kelvin. And that's actually true for when we use the ideal gas law, but it's actually true for all of the calculations that we'll do in this chapter. That's because if we use Celsius and Fahrenheit, that can give us negative temperatures, and that gives us screwy and weird results. We can end up with negative pressures and volumes that just isn't physically possible. And so all of the calculations that we'll do in this chapter, the temperature needs to be in Kelvin. So it's called ideal gas law, but what is an ideal gas? Well, an ideal gas is an approximation. But it's actually a pretty good approximation, and it greatly simplifies the calculations. When we use the ideal gas law, we're assuming that the gas molecules themselves have no volume. They're treated as infinitesimally small points. For most situations, that's actually a pretty reasonable approximation because the actual volume of the molecules is pretty small compared to the total volume that the gas makes up. The other assumption that we make is that the gas molecules do not interact with one another at all. And that's also not true. That's something we'll talk about a lot, particularly in Chem 1212. But these interactions are much more important in solids and liquids when the molecules are much closer together. In gases, because they're so far apart, again, this is generally a pretty good approximation. And so, again, using the ideal gas law is an approximation, but under most conditions, it actually works extremely well. So on the title slide, I mentioned we're going to talk about the ideal gas law, which is P equals nRT, and also the combined gas law. Well, the combined gas law is really just a rearranging of the ideal gas law. And let's see where it comes from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve the ideal gas law for R. So I'm going to divide both sides by NT, and I get R is equal to PV over NT. Now consider two different states of a particular gas sample. And so the two states are, pressure 1, volume 1, moles 1, and temperature 1, and then pressure 2, volume 2, moles 2, and temperature 2. But the fact that R is a constant means that P1V1 over N1T1 has to be equal to P2V2 over N2T2. And so we can write And so the advantage of using the gas law in this way is that this combined gas law can place all of the individual simple gas laws. So for example, Boyle's law, which tells us how pressure and volume are related, that is P1V1 equals P2V2. Right, but when we use Boyle's law and we're looking at just the relationship between pressure and volume, the moles and the temperature have to be constant. So that means that N1 and N2 have to be the same, so they would cancel. And T1 and T2 have to be the same, so they would cancel. And so as long as N and T are constant, the combined gas law simplifies to P1V1 equals P2V2, which is what, if you have Boyle's law memorized, which you certainly don't have to, we would get. And so you don't need all of the individual simple gas relationships. All you need is the combined gas law, and then we can derive any of those simple gas relationships based on what's changing and what's being kept constant. All right, so before we get to the examples, a helpful thing to think about is when do we want to use the ideal gas law in the form of PV equals nRT And when do we want to use the combined gas law, where we rearrange it to be this form? So generally, if the system is just a constant and we're given some properties and we want to know about one of the other ones, that's when I would use PV equals nRT. If one or more properties are changing and they want to know how another property responds, that's when I would use the combined gas law. Right? So my next video has these two specific examples, but let's see which one we would use for the red and the green example. For each one, would we use PV equals nRT, or would we use the combined gas law? So in the first example, we want to know what mass of hydrogen gas is needed to fill a weather balloon to a volume of 10,000 liters at 1 atmosphere and 30 degrees Celsius. So nothing is changing. They just want to know what one of the properties of the gas is. In this case, they ask for the mass, which isn't in the ideal gas law, but if we know the moles, we can get the mass. So they're just asking about one of the properties. So I want to use PV equals nRT for that one. Right? In the green example, we're told that a gas has a volume of 2.57 liters at 0 degrees Celsius. And if the pressure is held constant, how much would the temperature need to rise to have a volume of 2.80 liters? Right now, things are changing. Right, only the pressure is constant, but the volume is changing, and they want to know how the temperature changes. So when things are changing, that's when I'm going to go to the combined gas law. So in the next video, we'll look at these specific examples. But I have one more thing I want to talk about related to the theory before we go on. All right, so the last thing I want to mention, when we're reporting properties of gases, it's often convenient to make comparisons against a standard. And so standard temperature and pressure is defined as 273 Kelvin or 0 Celsius and 1 atmosphere of pressure. So if anybody says we're at STP, they're telling you the temperature and the pressure. And then related to that, sometimes people talk about standard molar volume. And so the standard molar volume is how much will 1 mole of any gas occupy at STP. And because ideal gases, we assume that there are no attractions between the gases. All gases behave the same if we're treating them as ideal gases. It doesn't matter what the nature of the gas is. So to find the standard molar volume, I'm just going to solve for V in the ideal gas law. And so I'll plug in 1 mole, because that's what it means for the standard molar volume. I'll plug in R, 0 degrees Celsius, 273 Kelvin, and 1 atmosphere. And so at STP, 1 mole of any ideal gas will have a volume of 22.4 liters. And so that's the standard molar volume.